Hello everyone, I'm Dragon Rider, Queen of Cards, and in this video it's time to talk about Hearthstone's newest expansion, The Great Dark Beyond. That's right, Hearthstone is going to space! And this key art is absolutely amazing. It is beautiful, but we have a lot to talk about. Let's talk about the expansion itself, The Great Dark Beyond. There is a ton of cool stuff, including what I think might be the most cool mechanic, I'm gonna say mechanic, that we have ever seen in Hearthstone, which is starships. This is basically a spot on the board that is going to be put out onto the board after your first starship piece gets destroyed. And your starship will be able to launch for 5 mana at any time that you want to launch that during your turn, or turns afterwards. So once you have your starship out on the board, you can click on it and it will show you all of the starship pieces that have gotten destroyed that are building this starship. You don't have to launch it immediately when it's available. You can wait and launch it when it has been built up with multiple starship pieces, and those all get added together. The stats get added, any keywords it has get added, and there are also 6 different looks for the starships for 6 different classes. So the 6 different classes that are getting starships unique to them are Death Knights, Demon Hunters, Druid, Hunter, Rogue, and Warlock. So they each have a unique name and art representing their role in the Great Dark Beyond. This is super cool, and I love that they're going to have their own unique art and everything as well. Just like this Druid one here, you can see this is the unique art and name for the Druid starship. Now, not only are we getting starships that are completely new to Hearthstone, but also a new minion type. That's right, the Draenei. Draenei are here. And not only new cards are getting the Draenei minion type, but a lot of old minions and minions from before are also being updated with that new minion type as well. Now, the Draenei have an interesting effect. They are kind of focused on the next Draenei played. So a lot of the cards will give some sort of effect, like a stat buff or whatever, to the next Draenei that you play. And then for this expansion, we're also getting a returning keyword, Spellburst. Now, this is not going to be something where they are bringing back Spellburst with old cards. This is just for these Great Dark Beyond cards, but Spellburst is going to happen the first time that you play a spell while that card is out on the board. Not only Draenei are coming, but also demons. Demons are coming. There is a kind of demon incursion, a demonic incursion that is coming. A lot of demons with the Burning Legion are part of this Great Dark Beyond expansion as well. So expect to see a lot of demon type stuff, including Archimonde. Archimonde is a very well-known character in World of Warcraft. As always, they are doing a free legendary for the expansion. This one is Nexus-Prince Shaffar. Alright, so let's talk about these cards that are revealed in here and have been revealed. The first we're going to talk about is Exarch Othaar. Exarch Othaar is a Druid legendary, 4 mana, 3/3 Draenei. Battlecry, if you're building a starship, get 3 different arcane spells and reduce their costs by 2. The starship will be taking up a slot on board when you are building it, and it's still not launched yet. So it's not a unit after you've hit launch and paid the 5 mana. It is still in that building phase for you to click on and see what pieces are part of it. So if you have that starship taking up a spot on the board in that building phase, you can get 3 different arcane spells that are all going to be 2 cheaper. Seems pretty good. And for only 4 mana, you can potentially have something with that starship piece keyword on it get destroyed, have that starship out, and then play this on turn 4, and then maybe on turn 5, you get to launch that or have some other arcane spells that you play. Maybe they do something, and it just seems like a really good sequencing of getting to be able to set things up. So Othaar seems really cool to me. So, for example, here is one of the Starship pieces, Starlight Reactor. This is another Druid card. It's a 3-mana 3/3. After you cast an arcane spell, recast it. Targets chosen randomly. And this does have that Starship piece keyword on it. So you could play Starlight Reactor on turn 3, and then play Othaar on turn 4, be able to get some arcane spells if this has died, and then be able to set up your Starship on turn 5. And the last Druid card here is Distress Signal. It's a 4-mana spell, arcane spell. Summon 2 random 2-cost minions. Refresh 2 mana crystals. So essentially you're getting 2 2-cost minions for 2 mana. And it's an arcane spell, so being able to recast this potentially with that Reactor seems really cool. And even just being able to play this and then refresh mana and use it for something else, even if it's just like a hero power that you use with the refresh mana crystals, still seems like this is good value. You're still getting 4 cost of minions on the board, and this is kind of creating a more early and mid-game board state for you than waiting until you have even more mana if you're more of like a ramp style druid. So this is really appealing to me. I think this is really cool. And depending on what the 2-cost minions are, maybe you even get a Starship piece, which I think would be really cool. I'm really into the Starship idea and keyword, so I'm definitely very excited. All right, now looking at a couple of Mage cards here. The first we have is Ingenious Artificer. It's a 5-mana 4/6 Draenei. Battlecry. The next Draenei you play refreshes mana crystals equal to its attack. So this is still playing into that next Draenei you play mechanic. And this one is refreshing mana crystals. So this is something that we've seen in Druid a lot, but not in Mage. So that's a little bit interesting that we're kind of starting to see this mechanic in other classes. And it does rely on the use of Draenei, but depending on how large of attack the minion has, you're still getting to refresh a decent amount of crystals, of mana crystals. So, I mean, I would say even refreshing between 2 and 4 still seems really good. And the cool thing I like about the next Draenei effect is it could be the same turn, it could be 3 turns later, like it doesn't specify when, it's just the next Draenei you play. So you can really set this up to play for a specific timing of something. And the second Mage card we have is Arkwing Pilot. This is a 7-mana 4/3 Draenei. At the end of your turn, deal 3 damage to a random enemy. And Spellburst, summon an Arkwing Pilot. So this is kind of cool. You can play this on turn 7. If you play this on turn 7 and have a card that costs 0, even like a coin still, that summons another Arkwing Pilot because of the Spellburst effect. So then you'd have 2. And it does say random enemy, not specifically random enemy minion. So this can hit your opponent's face, which I like. I like being able to deal that direct damage to their face. This is a little bit slow though at 7 mana. So I'm kind of curious if there's going to be something that maybe allows when you play a Draenei, the next Draenei you play costs 2 mana less or something like that to that effect. Because then you can play this a little bit cheaper and earlier. And it doesn't have a very good body for the 7 stats. So, yes, you're getting end of turn effect. So you are getting that effect immediately at least once. But the body isn't that great. So that's why I kind of hope for like the next Draenei you play costs X amount less. All right, looking at our Warlock cards, the first one we have is Archimonde. This is the legendary Warlock minion, 7 mana, 7/7. It's a demon. And Battlecry, summon every demon you played this game that didn't start in your deck. Okay, so This has a powerful effect if you've played a lot of demons that didn't start in your deck, but that also requires you to play minions that didn't start in your deck. So how are you getting those? How likely is it that you're able to create a full board like we see in this video? I'm not sure how often you're going to be able to pull that off, and depending on the meta, you might not be able to have time to get to this, but we'll see. I still think that it could see some play, could be valuable, and demons are pretty cool. So let's see if there's any synergies. Well, the next card we have is Foreboding Flame. This is a 2-mana, 2/3 elemental. Battlecry, demons that didn't start in your deck cost 1 less this game. So because this is common, you could have 2 of these. So if you're able to play both, then demons that didn't start in the deck will cost 2 less for the game, which is kind of cool. So you can play these early and then maybe mid or later game start playing demons that didn't start in your deck. But again, I'm waiting for a little bit more support here than just things that didn't start in your deck. So we'll see what else comes around. And then we have this amazing black hole. This is an 8-cost shadow spell that says destroy all minions except demons. Okay, so very powerful effect if you have a lot of demons, and definitely can turn the tides of the game. But again, you have to be demons. It does cost 8, so it's a little bit more costly. There could be situations where even if you have 1 or 2 minions that aren't demons, let's say that Foreboding that we just saw, which is an elemental, then you're probably fine just getting rid of those minions and destroying a board of potentially impactful minions on the other side. All right, getting into the neutrals here. First, I want to show the Starship, which is the Exile's Hope. This is the neutral Starship that the 5 other classes will be getting. So about half of the classes will only kind of have this neutral Exile's Hope Starship, and then those 6 special classes that I mentioned earlier will have their own, just like we saw with the Celestial Archive with the Druid Starship. Let's take a look at some of our neutral cards, and the first I'm going to start with is the Starship piece itself. This is Dimensional Core. It is a 3-mana 3/2 with Divine Shield and Starship piece. Okay, so it's a 3-mana 3/2 with Divine Shield. But once it dies, that adds into your Starship, and then the future Starship that you have also will have 3/2 of stats and a Divine Shield. So that's not bad. I really like the Divine Shield on it. I think that's really cool. All right, then looking at Velen, Leader of the Exiled. This is a neutral legendary minion, 7-mana, 7/7 Draenei with Taunt and Death Rattle. Trigger the battle cries and death rattles of all other Draenei you played this game. Ooh, okay. So battle cries and death rattles of Draenei you played this game is pretty powerful, and it has Taunt, so it's much more likely that you will actually get that death rattle effect. This seems really good if you are playing Draeneis. And I'm also kind of curious what death rattles Draenei will have, because this specifies both, but so far we've kind of only seen like battle cries. So I'm really curious to see what death rattle effects we get with the Draeneis. And speaking of Draenei, Starlight Wanderer. It's a 1-mana 2/1 Draenei. Battle cry, the next Draenei you play gains +2/+1. So this is a decent amount of stats, and with this being only 1 mana, you can fit it into many turns pretty easily. So if you're playing Draenei, this seems like something that could be pretty interesting and give you some value. It spreads out 4/2 of stats, essentially over 2 bodies. Yeah, depending on what kind of synergies you're going for, either buff a minion that's then behind taunts, or this could give you additional stats on a taunt minion itself. I don't know. It's pretty interesting for just one, and being aggressively statted like this on a 2/1 seems pretty cool. Then next up we have Nexus-Prince Shaffar. This is a 3-mana, 3/3 legendary minion with Spellburst. Give a minion in your hand +3/+3 and this Spellburst. So the first time you play a spell, a minion in your hand is going to get +3/+3 and that same Spellburst effect. So you kind of keep chaining it with minions. It seems cool. We've seen this type of effect before, of like giving something in your hand an effect that then gives something else in your hand an effect. And it has felt a little hit or miss with those synergies. So I'm not sure how I feel about this, but because it is Spellburst, you really get to pick a little bit more than something like a Death Rattle when this triggers. So you can set this up to where you play this and play a spell at the same time. Then the next minion you play, like on your maybe the same turn, if it's a cheap minion, or if you have enough mana, or if it's like the next turn, you play that minion and potentially a spell, and you can get the value on it like right away, which seems really cool. And maybe the stats are enough on its own, but this is going to have to go in a deck that is probably a little bit more spell heavy and wants the stats as well, which I'm not sure where that fits at the moment, but maybe there is some case for this, and maybe even just getting the effect once or twice is good enough with a synergy like this, where you just really want the stats on a minion and you don't even care about the spell burst. So I don't know. This is a really interesting one, and I'll have to see where people play this one at, especially once we get more of the cards revealed. Then we have Relentless Wrathguard. This is a 3-mana 4/2 demon. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to an enemy minion. If it dies, discover a demon. Okay, so you're just dealing 2 damage to an enemy minion and hoping it dies so you get to discover something. If you get to discover a demon, that is a demon that didn't start in your deck. So maybe if you're playing like an Archimonde deck, you get some of that synergy with the minions that didn't start in your deck. But you also have to make sure that the enemy minion dies. So this is more of a card that you are really only wanting to play when you can actually kill something on the other side with this, rather than just playing it on curve or playing it for its 4/2 stats or because it's a demon. So it's really interesting. But if you're able to kill something, this has huge impact. Now I want to talk about this Demon Hunter card. This was revealed from the influencer video, which was really cool. I enjoyed it. But this one is Xor'toth, Breaker of Stars. It's a legendary minion, 6 cost, 5/5 demon. Battlecry, add 2 stars to both sides of your hand. When they collide, deal 5 damage to all enemies. So these 2 stars are Star of Origination and Star of Conclusion. And basically they both say once it's next to the other star, deal 5 damage to all enemies. So because it's all enemies, it hits your opponent's face, which, as I always say, I do like that impact of cards when they can hit your opponent's face. But this seems just so cool. It's 6 cost, so it's not terribly late game. Depending on what kind of deck you're playing, depending on how the game is going and your hand size, it may be a bit easier or a bit more difficult to pull this off. So that's kind of where this gets a little bit tricky, to be able to actually like play the cards that are in between both of the stars so that you actually get them next to each other in your hand. But the way that I see this being used is as the top end of an aggressive deck, where you are likely already playing all of those cards anyways out of your hand. And this just being a top end, you're more likely to have fewer cards in your hand and be able to get this effect more easily, and then deal 5 damage to your opponent's face, which ideally ends the game. So that's how I see it being played. or how I want to try it at least. So I don't know. If you see other uses, let me know. I'd like to hear what other people think about this one, but I see it as like the top end of an aggressive deck. This expansion is launching on November 5th, but of course it is able to be pre-ordered with this 30.6 patch that is out today. But this is the first time in an expansion that they are going to have a pre-release tavern brawl. I am so happy about this. This is something that I have wanted for a long time. This is essentially a tavern brawl where you'll have access to play the cards early. This is something completely separate from the like creator theory crafting streams where creators get invited and get to play cards ahead of time. This will be in the client for everybody to play. Now, this is really cool. This also mixes in a like mechanic from the pre-launch events that they had in the past, where you could go in and create a fireside gathering and then like open your packs. This is allowing you to open packs that you have earned or gotten from pre-release bundles. So you cannot buy packs with gold during this time. You cannot like buy packs with money during this time. But for 1 week before the expansion launches, so this is October 29th through November 5th, you can open packs that you got from the pre-release bundles or packs you got from like Twitch drops, for example. Those will be able to be opened, and then you can play with those cards in the Tavern Brawl. And then you play the Tavern Brawl, and you'll get another Great Dark Beyond pack, and you can open those packs. Now, this is kind of a little bit more than just a regular Tavern Brawl, though. It will require 2 tavern tickets to enter this Tavern Brawl, or 300 gold, or 400 runestones, depending on like which way you want to pay for it. But you'll be able to open those packs, use the cards in there, and earn some prizes. So if you hit 6 wins or 3 losses, it's like 6 wins is half of an arena run, right? So instead of getting to 12 wins, you can get to 6 wins or still 3 losses. And you'll get prizes based on your results there. So it's a good way to earn more packs. And if you are someone like me who has quite a few tavern tickets built up because you don't really play arena or you don't really use those tavern tickets for anything, then this is definitely going to be an event for you. If you are a free-to-play player or even just using 300 gold, as long as you earn 3 packs from it, that's essentially still you using gold to buy the packs. So it kind of works. So I am really excited for this. I will definitely be doing a lot with this and checking it out. So if you're interested, stay tuned for more details. And that is a lot of information about the expansion, the cards that were all revealed, and more that is coming. So there's going to be a lot of content coming on my channel and other people's channels. So definitely stay tuned. But if you stuck through and watched this whole thing, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support. And I hope that you enjoyed my analysis of these cards and what's to come. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.